Welcome to today's lesson on the cell membrane and homeostasis. As you recall, homeostasis is the tendency of an organism to maintain a stable internal environment. For example, humans maintain a stable internal temperature at about 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Cells have to do this as well. They need to maintain homeostasis. One way they do this is by controlling what comes into and what goes out of a cell. Cell membranes act as gatekeepers doing this type of control, controlling what comes in and out. Cell membranes also provide structural support and they allow cells to communicate with each other. So what is the structure of the cell membrane? As you recall, it is made up of a lipid bilayer. Lipid is another word for fat, and bi means two. So the cell membrane is two layers of fat. And those layers are made up of structures called phospholipids. This is a phospholipid right here. It's got a head and it has two tails. The heads are polar. They are hydrophilic, which means they like water. And the tails are nonpolar. They are hydrophobic. They are repelled by water. And they line up next to each other and they form these two layers. So one layer here and one layer there. On the outside are the heads, right? Because outside of the cell, this part is the outside of the cell, is an extracellular fluid, which is mostly water. So the heads are going to be attracted to the water. On the inside of the cell, over here, is cytoplasm. And the cytoplasm is mostly water. So you have these heads lined up here. The tails faced each other because they are repelled by water. This is how the lipid bilayer works. The lipid bilayer also has other materials in it. We're going to discuss these membrane proteins. And because of the way the lipid bilayer is structured, only small substances can pass directly through the cell membrane. And these are usually nonpolar substances. Larger molecules and polar molecules are repelled and can't pass through the cell membrane, so they need other mechanisms of getting into and out of the cell. So once more, only small nonpolar substances can directly pass through the cell membrane. Membrane proteins. There are certain types of proteins found in the cell membrane. Some of them face inside, some face outside, and some actually stretch all the way across the lipid bilayer. The opposing attractions between the parts of the protein and the lipid bilayer help to hold the protein and anchor it in the membrane. There are several types of these proteins. Cell surface markers are the first type. These are like a name tag. They're a chain of sugars and they act like a marker to identify each type of cell. The second type of protein is known as receptor proteins, and these enable a cell to sense its surroundings by binding to certain substances. So cells don't have eyes to see what's around them, and they can sense information about their environment with these receptor proteins. Enzymes, as we learned previously, help to speed up biochemical reactions by lowering the activation energy required. And then transport proteins help in the movement of larger substances that can't fit through the cell membrane into and out of the cell. Here are some pictures of these cell surface markers. So these chains of sugars help to mark the cell. All right, they're like a name tag for the cell, right? And here's another one and another one. These are markers. These are receptor proteins. They're picking up information about the external environment that's around the cell. These are enzymes that will help speed up chemical reactions and make them possible. And finally, these are transport proteins. And you can see they almost look like a gate, and they're going to open and close, and they're going to allow larger substances to pass in and to move out of the cell as needed. So that was an introduction to the cell membrane and how cells maintain homeostasis. Thank you so much for listening.